New Beginnings handles all forms of openness when it comes to adoption plans. We allow the birth mother to choose what type of openness that she's desiring. We handle closed adoptions, which is where the birth mother does not choose the adoptive family, and at that point the baby is placed with the family that has waited the longest. We handle semi-open adoption plans, which is the most popular plan that our birth mothers choose. In semi-open adoption plans, the birth mother chooses the adoptive couple by looking through profile books, and then she usually meets the family. They're usually involved at the hospital when the baby is born, and then there's ongoing contact, but it's through New Beginnings. So the adoptive family sends us pictures and updates, and then we forward them on to the birth mother. If the birth mother has a card or a gift she would like to send to the child, she sends that to us, and then we forward that on to the adoptive family. We handle fully open adoption plans, which is usually where the birth mother and adoptive family exchange contact information. There's usually visits scheduled directly between the adoptive couple and the birth mother. Even though it's fully open, there still can be boundaries set that everyone is comfortable with. All of our families go through a very thorough screening process when applying with New Beginnings. They have to go through a process called a home study, which entails 3 visits with a social worker. One of those visits has to be in their home, where the social worker inspects the home, makes sure that the home is safe for a child. They also have to do background checks on every level, local, federal, state. We also do child abuse registry checks and sex offender checks nationwide. All of those background checks have to come back clean, and we also ask for personal character references as well as a pastor's reference. And we do all of this so we can ensure our birth mothers that their babies are being well taken care of, just as if that child had been born to that adoptive family. If you are pregnant and wanting to make an adoption plan for your child, New Beginnings offers a maternity care home where you can come and stay until you have your baby. It's definitely not a requirement for you, but it is an available option if you choose to work with New Beginnings. The maternity care home is a 2-bedroom apartment that is attached to a larger home where there's a full-time house mother who will take you back and forth to doctor's visits, coordinate activities, maternity clothes shopping, activities, you name it. She's there for you. She also is a fabulous cook and will allow you to, or offer you, a wonderful meal at supper. Also, if you stay at the New Beginnings maternity care home, all your expenses are paid for. We'll provide food, clothing, medical expenses. We take care of you while you're in our care at the care home. The house also, or the birth mother apartment, also has a washer and dryer, a full kitchen, a dining room, a living room, and there's also a pool available, which is really nice for Mississippi summers, but that is an option available for our birth mothers. Our domestic adoption fee is an all-inclusive fee with the exception of legal fees. Those are paid directly to our attorney at time of court. The adoption fee includes the application fee, the home study fee, birth mother expenses, and post-placement reports. The only 2 fees you pay up front are the application fee and the home study fee, and the remainder of the adoption fee is not due until you have been matched with a birth mother. There is no way in knowing how long a domestic adoptive family will have to wait. We really empower our birth mothers to allow them to choose the adoptive family for their baby. There are factors that are just completely out of our control when it comes to adoption, and that's we can't control who gets pregnant, who chooses not to abort, who chooses adoption over parenting, who chooses New Beginnings to complete their adoption plan, and then who chooses your family's profile book. So there are many factors that we just cannot control in the adoption process when it comes to birth mothers. We do tell families to be prepared for a 2 to 4 year wait, but the more open you are as far as race, gender, and how open you're willing to be with a birth mother, the less of a wait you'll have. When our domestic families are completing a profile book, we suggest using sites like Shutterfly or Snapfish. We ask that the book be about 8.5 by 11, no larger. Things to include in your profile book would be photos of you and your spouse, of extended family, some of your home, hobbies, vacations you've gone on, just anything that you feel would be appealing to a birth mother. This book is really intended to show birth mothers what life would be like for her child living in your home. And when you do apply with us, we do give you a guide with this information as well. The first step to our domestic adoption process would be to fill out an application. Once that is sent in, you will be sent additional forms needed to fill out. And after all of those forms have come back in, your file goes on to an approval committee. Once you're approved, you're officially placed on the waiting list. And at that point, we get started with your home study. And after the home study is done, it's the hardest part, which is the wait. And we know that adoption can be a very overwhelming process, but New Beginnings is here to hold your hand every step of the way. New Beginnings is a licensed adoption agency. We are regulated by the state, and there are many advantages to a birth mother to actually complete an adoption plan through an agency versus a private attorney. When a birth mother works with a private attorney, one of the biggest risks is her losing all of the adoption records. Attorneys are not required to obtain records for any length of time. So if the law office closes, then there's no way that that birth mother could find her records. At New Beginnings, we are required to keep adoption records forever. If for some reason our agency did close down, we would have to submit our records to another agency and then notify all of our birth mothers and adoptive families of where their adoption files are. Another difference when it comes to an agency adoption versus a private adoptions are done by attorneys, and while they do a very good job, they're not counselors or social workers. At New Beginnings, we do offer grief counseling, adoption-related counseling to our birth mothers, and we also offer that to our adoptive families as well. And that's just a factor that may not be offered with an attorney. Overall, New Beginnings just has a very close relationship with all of our birth mothers and adoptive families, more so than attorneys usually do.